Hey, 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 we're back.
I woke up in the morning feeling fresh to death. I'm so blessed. Yes, yes. I went to sleep stressed, woke up refreshed. I'm so blessed. Yeah, yes. Water in my face and everything is in its place. Peace of mind, even my grace. I'm so blessed. Yes, yes, yes. My grandma almost lived to see 92. I'm so
Come on,
blessed.
I'm
Yes,
writing my
yes, yes.
comments so I can get Sherry on. There we go. We should all be saying this right now. Blessed. Make sure you get your great girlfriends in. Let's get the party started with Sherry Riley coming up next. Let's see. There we go. All right. Oh my gosh, I'm having such an amazing Friday. These past 4 Fridays have been so fantastic. I have some of the greatest girlfriends on the planet joining with all of their wisdom, dropping it just because they love this community and they love you and they love me. And Sherry is one of them, one of the gifts that was dropped into my life. How many years ago, Sherry? Shucks. I'm not really sure how long ago it was, but we share such a treasure and a great girlfriend. And so I'm excited to have this conversation with her about keeping the peace and staying motivated during pandemic times. Let's see if we got Sherry in here. Do me a favor while we're looking for Sherry. Grab all your great girlfriends, tag them, and tell them to close out their Friday afternoon with us because Sherry always takes me higher. Always, always, always. I'm so excited. And if you've been enjoying this series, just let me know in the comments below because I want to make sure that every week you feel even more empowered to go out and do and believe and invest in yourself as best as you can. So, Positively Lovely One, I'm happy to have you join after the conversation with Sherry, but I want to make sure I get Sherry in so we can have our good conversation and give you what you need right now. Sherry, it says you're unable to join. So I'm going to see, Sherry, if you can jump out and jump back in. That would be amazing. And we'll just wait on you for 1 second. There we go. All right, we're going to wait on Sherry for 1 second. But again, if you're enjoying this series, share it with your great girlfriends. Invite them to jump on. Invite them to be a part of this conversation. Also, go back to the Great Girlfriends IG because all of the last 2 weeks are posted there, and you can pay attention and you can really dive into some really great conversation and feel connected to women who are like-minded during this time period. It's going to make you feel good. All right, Sherry, it's saying that I can't get you on. Sherry, do me a favor and you request to join and see if that works. Because right now it's saying that you're unable to join. So let's see. We get this tech situation going just like we needed to. Let's see. There we go. Yes! Sherry! We waiting on you, Sherry.
Yes.
Hey,
Yes.
Sherry.
Hey, sis.
Don't you look amazing?
Girl, you know I had to do it up. You know I had no makeup on in forever. But you know, for the great girlfriends, I had to put the makeup on.
You look so pretty, Sherry. These braids are amazing.
Girl, here's what's crazy. I got it braided like the 5 days before everything shut down.
Really?
Yeah.
You
So
spirit.
they
You
hold on.
spirit.
They
Hey,
hold
hold
on.
on. Don't get close. Stay right down here. It's all pretty right down here.
Don't move too much.
Oh my God. Sherry, you look so fresh faced and happy and
Thank you.
beautiful and radiant and amazing. You know I miss your face. I ain't seen
Girl.
you in a minute.
Okay.
Minute.
And look, I've been watching you all afternoon, like, oh, look at my Sybil, just over there glowing, just glowing and glowing, and just giving sunshine on this
I'm
Friday.
trying.
Girl.
I'm trying to bring some sunshine. I'm trying to spread some light, some joy, some encouragement. And you know, this, when you do that for other people, it fuels you, right?
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, when you spread love, when you spread joy, when you put a little bronzer on, it makes everybody else, it illuminates everybody else.
Right.
So
Right.
that's my plan. I'm like, well, if I just put a little something on, maybe that'll motivate the next person to put just a little. Do your best, whatever that looks like.
Oh
you
my
know?
God. Yes. Just a little bit. Just something.
Just a little bit.
Girl, put on some clothes. Let's start with just putting on some clothes. Because I had to get real intentional about, okay, Sherry, you are going to have to put on something other than your lounge wear. Come
Yes!
on.
I know. We're not even going to talk about how half my closet is at the dry cleaners. And the dry cleaner is not essential. So I've been trying to figure out how to make stuff work, shopping, trying to figure my new size, my new Sherry. Anyway,
It is new. You know, the other day I was talking to someone and they were like, you know, when we get back to the new normal, right? But my thing is, this is our reality, and it's going to continue to evolve. But this is our reality. If you're waiting for a new anything, as far as it going back to what it was, this is the reality we will always be in, and just continue to evolve in this space and place. Yeah.
I love what you just said, because it reminds me of when I had child number one. And you know, when you have your baby, you're like, oh, you know, I'm gonna go back to my pre-baby whatever. And I remember being in the gym one day, focused on that pre-baby body, right? I was like, I'm gonna get back, you know, knit. And I heard the Holy Spirit say, that old body didn't do what this body just did, right? So that old body did not deliver a 9-pound, 4-ounce, 21.5-inch boy.
Whoa.
That thing was a whopper.
Yeah.
So what are you trying to go back to? Like, no, there's this body has a new story.
Yeah.
And like, acclimate to what the new story is and connect with this new body. Stop trying to go back.
Oh my God, that's it right there. Connect.
I got free after that. Now I didn't get crazy free, but I got free enough to accept that, like, my hip had a new story, you know, my shoulders, if you know, different parts of my body were showing up differently, and they would never go back to something they couldn't be that they weren't before. Like, so this thing has taught me so much about what we crave as humans, right? Because we thought we could do fine without each other. We thought we could just, you know, do social media, go to work, commute 2 hours, see your family 3 hours a day, and go home. But as soon as we got stuck in the house, everyone started to crave connection like never before. And the truth of the matter is, we forgot how much we really, really need and love and rely on one another.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? I will say I've actually experienced both sides of that with my coaching clients, because I've also experienced clients that have shared with me and said, oh my God, like, I really am an introvert. Like, I'm okay. I'm okay. Like, honestly, I don't want to go back to this constant engagement. And so I think it's so important what you said is, okay, but the honesty is, where do you fit on that spectrum? And being honest with yourself is, okay, you know what? I do want more of this downtime, this kind of solitude, or this time with myself. And I'll then incorporate back into the engagement. And then, like you said, there's others that's like, oh my God, like, I'm gonna stop taking for granted how much I need and appreciate the engagement and what that looks like, you know?
I saw that post going around that people were posting that said, to their friends, next time you invite me to go out, I'm not going to be late, tell you I'm running late. I'm actually going to show up on time, or something like that, where people were like, I'm done playing games with the quality of my relationships. I want to make it right. I think that's good, because this Zoom thing, you know, it drives me up a wall. Like, I am an in-person, let's hug, touch, sit for hours person. You know this. So doing all this distance stuff for me is fragmenting the way I had to reconnect. And I'm smothering my fam. I'm hugging them tight and wrong. I'm just Kisses all over there. And they like, you need friends to hug.
Yeah.
No, you ain't talking about.
But that so aligns with the Great Girlfriends. I mean, that's why what you and Brandis do has so much impact, because it's authentically, and I share this with you guys on the podcast. Literally, we just constantly peep into the experience that you guys have with each other, the experience you and her have with others. And so it's such a natural extension to who you are that I can imagine that you over there like,
girl, I'm like, I can't put my whole face in that baby stroller. I gotta like put a mask on. You know, I was in the mall like, what's your baby's name? Let me touch the fat. I was her.
Right. They're like, ma'am.
You better get away from my baby.
Ma'am, if you don't back up.
I've had to back all the way up. And I had a birthday parade and I went outside. It was a surprise. I went outside, Sherry. I cried. I just, I touch people. People pulling their car away. I'm like, I do. Like, I'm her. But it's been good because, like you said, wherever you fit on the spectrum, we're all figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I think that figure it out muscle is the one that everyone is activating or needs to activate so they can stay motivated, so you can be where you're supposed to be and not where everybody is.
Exactly.
Don't chase that trend of hopping every night and doing, you know, I can't be on everybody's DJ list every night. It's just not my life.
Right.
I can't catch everyone's stuff. I really just started to plug myself deeper into the communities that I already loved. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Communities that were already feeding me. And then any free resources that were on my wish list, if they're available, you know, I started, you know, grabbing those. But what kind of things have you been doing, or what are some of those secrets you've been giving your clients that we could kind of grab on?
Yeah.
For $3.99 today.
And you know what? You just said actually the very first one, and that was, you know, go deeper in what's been serving you or that you've identified that serves you, right? Instead of, I got to be on this webinar, this call, this Zoom, be on this IG live, and then you look up and you're just all over the place. And so you've replaced the busyness outside of the quarantine. You've replaced that same busyness within the quarantine. And so you're still frazzled. And then when you get on the other side of frazzled, you start losing your motivation because you're not accomplishing anything. You're just busy. And so the first thing is just what you said. And then on the other side of that is then also what's draining your time. You know, identify those things that are a drain on your energy, a drain on your time, and remove them, right? Some of my clients, we got to working together, and they felt that they had to be on every IG live, every Zoom, everything they got in their email. Here's a course, here's a class. And it was draining their energy. Or their friends kept saying, let's do another Zoom a happy hour, you know? And so they was like, these people who needed things, they were calling them and constantly on the phone, and they just realized, yo, I'm just drained. And I said, the first thing we got to do, identify those things that drain your energy and either reduce it or remove it.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. And you know what, Sherry? I looked in my inbox, I think it was probably week 2. And I was like, how do I have over 100 emails today? Right. And about 50 of them were mailing lists, you know, where people were, brands were reaching out, connecting and just letting, people. I unsubscribed.
I've been doing that. Yes.
And I feel so much lighter.
Yes. I mean, because literally, Sybil, I did the metrics. 60% of my emails now are an invite for a Zoom, a webinar, a training, a call. And, some of them I did remove because it just doesn't serve me. But then back to your original comment, but what I've done is I've dived deeper in the ones that do serve me.
Yes.
So in the morning, I'm very intentional. I have the 2 or 3 blogs that I read, and I have the 2 or 3 videos that I watch. So I'm very intentional with what I fill my day or start my day with. And then the rest of it, I'm not guilty. I remove the guilt. Remove the guilt.
That's
to
so
stay
good.
motivated. Remove the guilt.
Yes.
It is okay to unsubscribe.
Yes. I'm telling you, resubscribe when you need it, but unsubscribe. Yes. I mean, it set me free. I had so much anxiety approaching email because I was like, And then I couldn't see through the stuff that was important, the things that I did need to attend to. And like you said, I started feeling weighed down and overwhelmed and, you know, just behind. So I just started, and I felt guilty at first about unsubscribing from certain things. But, you know, when I get your email, I'm motivated. When I watch that video, when I get the tips, that stuff is feeding me. The other stuff, it's seasonal for me. And I had to be okay with, like, you know what, let me just unsubscribe from a lot of this stuff. And a lot of these brands, I mean, trust me, they won't even miss me.
And you know what? The thing, it starts, Sybil, with taking ownership of what you really need right now.
Yeah.
Because the challenge is, so many of us won't just be honest with ourselves and say, you know, here, let me give myself permission to be honest. What do I need? Right? Some of you may need tips on how to meditate and just really slow down. Some of us may need tips on how to really grow our business, right? Yeah. Some of us may need to identify, how do I get even better as a spouse? And so when you get honest with what you need, then it helps remove the guilt, right? It helps remove the guilt of, okay, I don't need that right now, but I do need to, you know, pour more into this area of myself. And so, you know, give yourself permission to just be honest with, what do you really need? And here's the thing. Stop, just like my grandmama used to say, chew the meat and spit out the bone, right?
Right.
Stop thinking that everything you see on social media, oh, well, you know, Sybil needs to engage. Oh, well, Sherry's okay with being still. Well, am I Sybil? Am I Sherry? Neither. You're you.
Right.
You're
you. Yes.
Chew the meat and spit out the bone. Take what it resonates with you from Sybil, what resonates with you from me, what resonated with you from Nakia, from Lucinda. But at the end of the day, if you don't have the confidence to know what's true and real for you, you're just going to keep, and you're not going to stay motivated. Yeah.
That brings me to some of the questions, because, you know, I had questions from people who, and so many of the great girlfriends sent in notes. Oh, I remember Sherry at the conference. She was so amazing. I read her book. I love Exponential Living, Pieces of New Success. You know, they miss you, Sherry. So they say, hey. Just like, you know, most of the DMs were like, Sherry, hey. And then there were some questions that came in, because people were saying, a lot of people are on your mailing list, just FYI. One of the major questions was about competing. Is it okay to compete? Sometimes competition motivates me, but other times it can overwhelm me. What are your thoughts? And this question has come out of North Carolina.
I am an athlete at heart, right? I am an athlete. I love sports. The Last Dance is giving me life right now.
Yeah.
And so I would like to reframe the question. And I would say, I'm going to answer the question. It's absolutely okay to compete. Mm-hmm. What I would say, the area that's the challenge is comparing.
Right? Ooh, Sherry, I need to get that Hammond back out.
So absolutely compete. Here's my number one competition. Me yesterday. I compete against myself every day. I want to be better today than I was tomorrow than I am right now.
Yeah.
I do have benchmarks of others, individuals that I see where they are, and I'm competing with myself, and I'm competing with their success because I want to elevate to that level. But what I don't do is I don't compare, because they have resources I don't have. They have skill set that my skill set is different. Mm-hmm. I don't compare because I don't know the cost that they paid to get to the level of success that they have. Am I willing to pay that cost? So absolutely compete, just don't compare. Sherry,
that y'all better not put that on a sweatshirt, a cup, or nothing. Sherry's about to put that on a. Yeah. You better write that on a sticky. I'm gonna give you 5 seconds to write that on your sticky.
Where my pen? Where my pen? Yes.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
You know, that actually set me free, Sherry, because I've always looked at competition as like, you know, just a threat to your identity. I'm like, why would you compete when you are yourself? Why? But comparison is the one that's killing.
Yeah.
Comparison is the thief.
Yeah. And here's the thing that I love. If you go back, I'm a sports person, right? When we look at Michael Jordan and then we look at Kobe many years later, right? And in the interview that they aired on The Last Dance, that Kobe Bryant said, and Kobe Bryant said there would be no Kobe Bryant without Michael Jordan. He said, so it bothers me when you compare me to Michael. Now, Kobe was a fierce competitor, but he said what bothered him was the comparison to Michael. So we can always compete. Competition is great.
Yeah.
But
you know what? And you know, when I'm a church girl, right? So you know how you walk the 20 to the altar or whatever. You know, but you're from Atlanta, so I don't know if I should I do
yeah, look, we can pass the collection plate.
Is this how we do at the altar in Atlanta? Do we fly it up? I'm sending some money, Sherry.
Look, the modern day version of the collection plate is Cash App, right?
I know, right? Oh my gosh, that's so true. It's the comparison of it all.
Yeah.
Oh, I know somebody else got their breakthrough on that one. Because it's okay. Because the athlete in you do need to compete, and you should be competing with yourself. The person that you showed up as yesterday, there's more in you. And if you woke up with that new grace, then you have new advantage, and that gets you a leg ahead of yesterday.
Yes.
I love that, Sherry.
That's
okay,
it.
North Carolina, you just got your whole life. Your whole life. You just got your whole life. All right, this one comes out of Idaho. Hey, great girlfriend from Idaho. Oh, she says, hey, Sherry, I read your book, Exponential Living, and you talk about peace being the new success. How do people hold on to peace right now? Peace seems to be fleeting. So many relatives have been lost. Can you help?
Oh my gosh. So thank you first for reading my book. I have a firsthand experience with this. My cousin, who is my sister, my best friend, like my everything, passed a month ago. And so I know what it is in this place of loss. But as I've said in the book, and I always say, it's not our external circumstances that dictate our internal peace. Peace is a decision we make in every circumstance, the good, the bad, and the indifferent. And so when we make that conscious decision that I will continue to remain in this place of internal calm, regardless of my external storm, that's how we take ownership of our peace, even in the unprecedented times of COVID-19. Because even in the loss of my cousin, one of the key motivators is laughter. Right. And so my cousin, the joy she gave to the world is she could see the laughter in any and everything. So when her husband asked me to do the eulogy at her service, I knew the way to honor her was through honoring the joy and laughter that she brought into the world. In this COVID-19, the way you hold on to your peace is ask yourself daily, what does this make possible? What does this make possible? Yes, in the midst of loss. Yes, in the midst of death. Yes, in the midst of anxiety. Yes, in the midst of uncertainty. What does this make possible? Some of those things are you using this time to engage differently with your spouse, right? My husband and I are reading the 5 love languages and making it a fellowship during this time. Yes, you now are obligated to do the homework with your children. But instead of looking at it as this obligation, can you reframe that and go, wow, I'm going to get, for the first time and probably the only time, to really sit with my children and see how they learn, to see what areas or gaps do they have in their learning process that I'm now getting to witness firsthand. So in that reframing, when we know that the anchor to that is peace, and when we know that it's our internal commitment, not our external circumstances that predicate if we have peace or not, then we're able to own peace regardless of what's going on around us.
That is so good. That is so, so good. I know, biblically, God talks about, the Bible talks about peace that passes understanding. And, I had to tell myself that, God carries all the answers. So I'm just going to bypass, what I think the answers are. And I'm going to go to the source and allow God to channel through me. Like you said, what's possible?
And
opportunity there.
As a woman of faith, Ephesians 2:14 says Jesus is our peace.
Yeah.
So when we know he is our peace, peace is never taken from us because we know that he is eternally there. He's Alpha and Omega. And that's the biggest piece to peace.
Yeah.
Is when we know the COVID-19 doesn't remove Jesus. It doesn't remove the power, the presence, or the power of the Holy Spirit. So when we really know at the heart of it that he is our peace and he's always there, And all we have to do is like the example he gave us when, the storms came and the disciples were so scared and afraid. And Jesus woke up and said, peace, be still.
Yeah.
We have the power at all times to tell that anxiety and that stress, peace, be still.
Yeah.
And that's the power that we own.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Oh my gosh, great girlfriend. I hope you got that and really
Yes.
captured that in your soul. That's so good. Then this one comes out of Pennsylvania. This is she has check on your strong friend, ... She says, Sherry, how do you teach your friends to show up for you when you are experiencing grief?
Well, goodness gracious, just went through that too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Here's what I've learned, and it's been honestly probably the most freeing thing that I've experienced for me personally, is that you have to accept people where they are, right? And that's not to minimize your desire and your need for your friends to be there for you and with you. But if there's someone specific that's not showing up and you've expressed that to them, and if you really look at the truth of the friendship, they probably have never shown up in that way. Mm-hmm. There's probably always been that different way y'all express friendship for each other, right? Mm-hmm. But if it's a friend who genuinely knows where you are, but they're just hectic with their own life and they're dealing with their own trials and tribulations, that person, you go to them and you share with them, you know what, here's where I'm hurting, or here's where I need you, or here's where I would like for you to show up for me. And if that person is genuinely, that's their nature, they're going to go, oh, I didn't know. I got my own challenges. I got my own issues. I didn't know. But then we also have to respect when the reality is they just don't have the capacity to show up for us the way we need. And I've experienced all three. I've experienced the friends that it's never going to register to them. And I just have to love them where they are. I have those friends that when I've shared what I needed, they go, oh my God, you know what? I just didn't know. I'm here for you. And then I've had those friends that they honestly would love to be there. They just didn't have the capacity to meet me where I needed to be met. So I encourage you to just look at the dynamic of those individuals that you want to show up for you and see what category they fall in. And then you have to take ownership of how you then move accordingly.
Oh, that's really good. That is really, really good. Capacity is a huge, huge center point to everything you're saying today. How much capacity do we have within? And, and then how much capacity do we have, or do other people have, and how much do we offer out? Because it's very important that we not give more than we have access to.
And I'll add to that, we also, I say this one of the most overused words in the dictionary is friend. Like we lump everybody in the category of friend. But the reality is there's people that we have known for a long time. There's people that trust us, right? We don't necessarily trust them at that level, but they trust us. I mean, they're the friend that come to us and tell us everything, but we very selective in what we tell them.
Yeah.
Right? Then there's the friend that generally has just always pulled from you. Right? After they've been doing everything that they got to say, they're, okay, girl, I'll call you later. There's that friend. And so what we have to do is be more clear in how we define our relationships. There are associates, there's colleagues. So there's work colleagues that you're friendly with, right? Mm-hmm. Then there's people that trust you, that communicate with you on a regular basis when it's advantageous for them. Then there are the friends who have an equal understanding of the dynamic of how you express friendship. And so that's just a few of them. But I would also encourage you, really look at those circle of people that you identify as friend, and then be more honest with yourself on what category do they really fall in, and then label them accordingly.
Oh, that's so good. And that's okay to do.
Yes.
I think the sooner you do that, the healthier and more clear you are in your mind, right?
Because it's not fair to require of someone something that's not what they honestly want to bring to the dynamic. And you don't have to lose quality people in your life just because you've put them in a category that they don't fit in.
That'll get you motivated quick, fast, in a whole hurry, won't it? It will, Sherry, because you'll be
Yeah.
like, wow, I feel lighter. Because you're asking questions in your head about people that have already been answered.
Yes. Yes.
You just need to look at the facts, look at the answers that have been laid before you. And most of the time we know how we feel about people, but we feel guilt around relationships and wanting to show up. And that's a little bit of bondage that we need to work through too to keep our motivation straight.
Okay.
Right?
We hold people hostage. And that's
Oh,
and here's the thing, Sybil, we're holding them hostage and they don't even know it.
they don't
We over here swollen and why can't she be there for me? And then and they don't even know.
and it makes you mad when they don't know. Why can't she see?
Right.
She over there, like, yeah, they have zero clue.
Zero clue.
Zero
Yeah.
clue. Gosh, that's so good.
Yeah.
So all of that stuff weighs us down.
Yeah.
And then when it's time for us to have the energy and the stamina to show up for ourselves, we just got all of these things in the back of our head that are just holding us hostage.
Yeah.
And making us feel demotivated. And that is so true. Do you feel like, Sherry, we give up our peace to other people?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We like, here goes some peace work. Here goes some peace kids. Here goes some peace relationships.
Yes.
Other mama, whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then we get mad at them because we don't own our own peace.
Yeah.
Expecting someone to give us something they're not qualified to do, right? They're just, no one can take your peace and no one can give it to you.
Yeah.
Either way, it's a choice and a decision that you make. And
Yeah.
when you take that level of ownership, and that's why even with my book, because for years, the first principle of exponential living was pursue peace and a positive mind. Because for me, it was like, it's got to start with peace, right? And literally midway through, God said, you'll never get to peace if you don't take ownership first. Ownership first. You have to live in your power. You have to make the decision first. No one can take your peace and no one can give you peace. And that's why the first principle is live in your power, because we got to take that ownership before we can even recognize where peace really exists. And that's in our control.
Oh, that is so good. You know, I think about that often with moms because, you know, moms oftentimes will feel so depleted because they've done so much for everyone else, and then when they look up at the end of the day, they don't have enough time to even attend to themselves. Like self-care is on the back burner, and I think now more than ever, I'm seeing people really try to reclaim some of the access to self-care. Like, what can I do? What are some new habits? And I think that's fair, Sherry, to like create new habits, right? Some of them may be seasonal habits because this is a season. And then some you will take with us after this is all said and done, right?
Yeah, one of the key things to staying motivated is just periodically breaking up your daily routine. You know, just breaking up the daily routine. You know, especially when you are, you know, the spouse, the caregiver. Many of us have our parents that we're caregivers for during this COVID-19. You know, we're taking care of our children. We're still working remotely. And so, yes, we should have a routine so that we can allocate our time effectively and efficiently. But I'm telling you, 2 times a week minimum, break up that routine. If you and your kids, you know, y'all start homework at, you know, 3:45 after the end of the school day. Hey, kids, today we're going to go for a walk at the park, right? And then we're going to come back and eat, and then we're going to do homework. It just allows for that, you know, just periodically break up that routine. And then for your kids, because, you know, we're adults in all of this, and this is a whole nother conversation, but our children, the way that this is affecting them, we got to be real intentional. It's not business as usual for our children. It's not. And so, yes, they're going to school and on Zoom or whatever that process is in your respective area. But for mine is 13. My child has not had social interaction outside of a computer or a phone in 9 weeks with kids her age. She's our only child at home. How is that affecting her, right? How do we need to re-engage her energy, right? And so in breaking up that routine, we also take it in consideration, like what that does to just rejuvenate those children in a way, because they're not getting that stimulation. They're not running around from class to class. They're not breaking up their day, engaging in a way that they have been accustomed to. And so think about it, as hard as it is for us, imagine that 16 and under, and what that, especially, those preteen and, and your babies, that age group, and how we engage them. So yeah, that's a whole nother conversation, but it's so important because it is a part of the motivation on why we have to, do these things to stay motivated for ourselves, so that we can be even more in tune to those things that are, quote unquote, abnormal to our reality in this unprecedented time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so good. Okay, so this question came out of Los Angeles. Hey LA, shout out to the sunny side of town. So
yes.
this question is this person says, "Hey Sherry, I've never really felt motivated. Am I missing something? I get work done, I do what I have to do, but I don't necessarily feel motivated. In fact, most times I feel low."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that, I would say, well, first of all, that's a broad question that I would have to go into in a different environment. But just to touch it from a surface level is, how are you defining motivation? Because if you are getting up every day and you are productive, there is a level of motivation there.
Mm-hmm.
So let's first be honest with that truth.
That's good.
Right now, what is it that you're actually looking for from yourself that you're not doing? Identify what that is. Do you feel like that you're not working at the highest level of excellence? Do you feel like that there's other things you want to do and you're too afraid to venture outside of your comfort zone to do them? So what I would want to say is, first, identify the motivation you have, or you wouldn't be getting up every day.
Right.
Secondly, really look at what it is that you think you're missing, that you feel like you should or want to be doing. And then the third thing I would say is, you need to get some help, in the sense of, is there a life strategist or a coach like myself that you could be a part of some of the programs that we have? I have a monthly call that, can help answer these questions for you. Is there webinars or Great Girlfriend podcast that you can be more engaged with in a higher level? But what are the resources that you need if there is something else beyond those two things that I said? And it probably is that you want to just get that extra help. And then the last thing I'll say is, you may just need an accountability partner. There may be ideas you have in your head that you need to share with someone that would hold you accountable, that will give you that extra fire to get up and do some things that you may be sitting on.
That's so good. Sherry, there's so many people that were just going with the flow before this started, right? Mm-hmm. And that was their certainty. And the flow got interrupted, and life became very uncertain. And for those of us who have been entrepreneurs, we're like, it's been troubled water. I don't know where y'all been, but
this is our reality every day. Every day.
We've been like, uncertainty is not normal. Oh, okay, my bad, because that's all we know. But I think that's really good. This question, I hear that because so many people were just in the routine of life, and that it never really had a clear picture on what more could look like, but just jumped out of college, jumped into a routine, got into a career, and been doing 9, 5, 9, weekend, doing that routine. And then this thing happened, and it just disrupted their norm. So I think that I love what you said, because there is a motivator for you to get up and go every day and, do your 9 to 5. And now there needs to be a shift in the mindset. And also the bigger, broader question of what motivation looks like. I learned too, Sherry, that I can't show up like anyone except for myself. Yeah. And, when you go back to not comparing, I remember moons back. It's been a long time ago. I set myself completely free from that. But back when it was holding me, I would be so afraid to step out, and I would feel like a surge of energy, but I would lose it because I would start to compare and be like, wait, the message isn't perfect. This isn't clear. This person does it better. Or, you're too much of this and not enough of that. and that inferiority was kicking in fast and furious, and it would just, and I would lose all motivation to be myself,
Mm-hmm.
to own my identity. And so I think, interestingly enough, now I think about people who are trying to create relevance. And I was talking about this with Nakia, and it's come up consistently over the last few weeks of people wanting to remain relevant now in this season, and losing the motivation to be themselves, because relevant looks different when everybody's online, when everybody's doing everything. What do you say to a person who is struggling with the idea of how to be authentic and relevant at the same time?
Yes. So what is truly your purpose, and how are you really supposed to show up, right? And, you know, one of the things that we loved about Prince is the mystery around him. One of the things we loved about Janet was the mystery around them. It was the music, right?
Yeah.
And so their brand lended itself to the excellence they brought to their craft. We didn't have to know anything else about them. And they were relevant because of the product that they put out. And then there's other brands that the more you know about them is what makes them relevant, right? It's like, and I don't want to call names, but we know there's brands like that. And so what I would say is, for those that are, you know, the question between relevance and this season and what this means, I think a form of relevance for some people is, are you using this time to train yourself in a way that's going to make you more impactful and make you better on the other side of this? If you are an employee and you're working at a company, are you using this time that you're not having to commute to create something that's going to elevate you from senior management to executive level, from director to senior VP? Are you fine tuning what is ways that my company can come out of this better? And so relevance means you may be quietly training yourself. You may not be visible. You may not be doing an IG live. You may be training and reading and thinking and developing and creating so that you present something that moves your company forward. Or you may be an entrepreneur and you're using this time and just really processing how you're going to pivot your business. But then there's others like a D Nice who's put in so much work into this point, and he just put his purpose on display, and it took him to a whole nother level, right?
Here come your offering.
So to me, relevance is not equal to exposure.
Yes, Sherry. Wait,
relevance
no, stop right there. Stop.
To exposure.
Jot that down. You need to jot that so you can use that later.
Relevance.
Right
now. Here's my notepad.
Because you are
relevant. It's not equal to exposure. And so, you know, I think we have to get clear on what is it that you're really looking to accomplish. And so for some, it may be up-leveling their exposure, right? Yes. Again, D Nice only did that for his friends. He was like, hey, I don't have anything to do. Actually, it was by accident. He had his turntables with him. And he was like, just me and a few of my friends, right? And 150,000 people later, we know what's happened. But then I also know there's people that have literally gone into a place and they are creating. You don't see them on social media. You're not hearing about them. They're not showing up on those Zooms. But what they're creating on the other side of this is going to absolutely be something that's going to change their business, their family, and their dynamic. So relevance, let's define relevance first. Relevance is, what are you spending your time on that's going to bring the greatest forward movement for you and whatever that looks like for you. And that does not always equal exposure.
I see what kind of grandmama you gonna be. I already see you gonna be on that porch rocking, and they just gonna be like, what else? Tell me what else. I see. Wow, because that is so true.
Yeah.
It doesn't equal exposure. It means something different depending on who you are and where you're supposed to be, which is why you got to have that alignment going. Yes. So you can hear from God to know how to apply the mental to get everything in place so you can be in the right position.
And think about how motivating it is every day to get up knowing in your space. Now, if you think you're supposed to be getting exposure and your focus is building something in private, yes, you are not going to be motivated because you're going to be comparing. Why am I not on Instagram when I know I'm supposed to be getting organized and creating content and thinking of new ways that I can bring to my company and new ways that I can pivot? And so the way to stay motivated is know honestly how you are supposed to be relevant, how you are supposed to effectively spend your time. And it's the culmination of everything we've talked about. Stop comparing, take ownership of what's most important to you and your family. And then when you move in that and remove the distractions, remove the things that drain your energy, it allows you to be authentically true to where you are. And whatever the other side of this looks like, again, I just believe we're going to continue to evolve the reality that we're in. Relevance, short term.
Terry, that's a whole talk. It's a whole book. Like, I really hope you, as God leads you, don't do what I'm telling you. But just know that is such a big nugget. It doesn't equal exposure, and we're so busy thinking that we need to be exposed to be relevant. But some of the best kept things, some of the best things are done in hiding, in that planted, that place where you are planted and locked in, doing the thing that you're supposed to do, so that when the exposure happens, you look how you're supposed to look.
Girl, think about it. We don't know who's creating the vaccine for COVID because they're not
out here on IG Live, right?
They in there doing the work. Yes. And when they finish with it, it is going to change and save lives.
Yes.
So again, how do you, and again, social media is such an important component of our culture now. But again, when it becomes overused in a way that minimizes the importance of other things, right? Someone is in a lab right now. We'll never know we don't know their name, see them. They're not teaching us anything. They're not sharing anything. They're not posting. They're not sending an email blog. They're not doing any of that. But the work they're doing is critical, right? So if for you, let's just look at your business. I'm in a place where the most critical, important thing I can do right now is get organized.
Yes.
If I could show you this stack of stuff that I need to get organized. Yeah. So if I can own the fact that what's most relevant for me right now is to get organized, then that's what's most important for me. At the same level that scientists working on a vaccine, that's most important to them. Yes. Because when I come out of this with that content created, it's going to serve the people who have trusted me with their life journey as their life strategist and as their life coach. The same way that scientist is going to save lives with that vaccine. So whatever your purpose to do, when you really own that within the realm of where you are, you can stay solid and not waver with whoever's the voice that popped up that day on your phone when you opened up your doggone IG.
Girl, that when you said that, I'm like, how do people do that? They're going to have to get out of that people bondage, right? So people bondage will allow you to be free from perception, because a lot of people are out here trying to create a perception of relevance. And that's not even being true to where they're supposed to be. It's being true to where they think people want them.
Yeah.
And that's oftentimes two different places. And I think it's so important that we start to ask, is this where I think people want me, or is this where I'm supposed to be? And if it's not where I'm supposed to be, what are the quick changes I need to make so I'm in my position?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. For the first 4 weeks of this, people were asking, great girlfriends, are we having a COVID talk? I said, no, we're not. I'm not in a position to have that conversation. Lots of people are having it. So I feel like, for me, if it's said, it's said. I don't have to add, it had already been said and done. That's being done. I knew it was my time to begin a conversation when I had in my head what I wanted to serve our audience with, which is preparation of a sharp mindset for what's ahead. What's going to create advantage for people to come out of this ready and skilled to be their best, strongest self, not to just talk about the effects of the virus, because I think for me that's been done, and it's been done so well. Other platforms have done that so well. I'm really on the solution side of how do you need to think? You know,
Yeah.
what are some of the saboteurs you need to really cut out? You know, what kind of consciousness and consciousness do you need to have so you can be healthy when you come out of this thing? Because we are coming outside one day. We don't know the
Yeah.
day. You
Yeah.
know, but whatever. What if we never go back outside?
Mm-hmm.
Could that be okay too? Like, we
Mm-hmm.
have got to just get a handle on some things so that we can have the certainty. Because I think that's the advantage that God gave us, is that we don't have to sit in the pain of things. You know,
Right.
we can sit above things. We can,
Mm-hmm.
you know, go through waters and not always experience the pain of it. So
Yes.
this is so super, super helpful. I'm just like, I'm over here. I'm still thinking about what you said earlier about competing and not comparing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm over here thinking, oh my gosh, and Sherry, Jesus. And I'm thinking relevance does not equal exposure. My gosh.
Yes.
Do
Yes.
you have that in have you always said that and I missed that one?
That
That's
was
a new
new.
one?
That's all Holy Spirit driven. Now the competing and the comparison is something that has been there, but the relevance and the exposure, that's Holy Spirit. Oh, he gets all the credit. Yeah. Holy Spirit.
Sherry,
Yeah.
Sherry, that I don't. You gotta take that on the road, Sherry, because
But
those are not the same.
but you know what? Going back to just that point of relevance and exposure, because here's my confession. In the beginning, I was like, oh my God, in the beginning of the shutdown, oh, I need to do this. And I'm gonna do the IG live and I'm gonna do this. Oh, I'm gonna do this. And I was like, but none of that is one, it ain't me, it ain't my brand. It's not the way I want to do things. And as I continue to pray, God, what God told me January 2020, God, it didn't change in May. He's literally telling me the same thing.
Yeah.
He told me to get organized. I asked him for the time to do it. Now, I'm definitely in any way minimizing that 90,000 people's lives that have been lost.
Absolutely.
And I'm definitely not saying that COVID-19 is a blessing. That is
right.
not it.
That's
but
right.
What I am saying is that what does this make possible? Well, what he told me in January is the same thing that's possible in May. The only difference is, what are you going to commit to it, Sherry? You still have to commit to it.
That's right.
And so that's why I think, this is so important. Why, when you hit me, I said yes automatically and instantly, because, the Great Girlfriends audience, just by the questions that were curated, you guys, you and Brandis are doing such an amazing job of feeding the audience and the tribe that you've curated and cultivated. And I want to be a part of how you serve them, because this is what aligns with how we're relevant.
Yeah.
This is what aligns. And the thing is I'm a speaker. When I walk in a room, I don't care if it's one person or if it's 10,000. I came there to serve. And so whether it's 5 people on an IG live or 150,000 people on an IG live, are you showing up to serve? And that's why relevance can't equal exposure, because the 5 people that you're relevant to in that moment, they're going to go talk to others. But if you look at it and go, only 5 people showed up, I didn't get the exposure, then you're missing what you're called to do in the service of people. And that's so important, especially now. It's so important. Thank you, Speak Free always. Thank you. I looked down and saw that comment. Thank you.
Yes, you are serving. You always do. Sherry, do you mind if I tell the story how we met? Because I always think that's so special. This I always have to bring in a great girlfriend story, because I just think.
I will say I got another interview after this, so we've got a little time. But yes, I do not.
You got to go. How long you got? You got 2
I've got until 3:20.
Okay.
Oh, girl, I forgot we on video. You see me over here. I done got real confident. I'm thinking it's just me and Sybil. Y'all see me girlfriends for real, right? I'm like, yeah, girl, come on, let's talk.
Well, you be like, let me fix my. Oh my gosh! Because this is one of those tips I think for staying motivated is and Lucinda talked about this earlier, like-minded women and like-minded community, and how that serves you at the time when you need it. And Sherry and I shared a great girlfriend who was actually your bestie, best friend.
Yeah.
And her name was Patty Webster. And I met Patty actually met Patty funny through Kwaku, because someone else felt that Kwaku needed to meet Patty, and they met, they became friends. And then Kwaku was like, you need to know Patty. And that's how I met Patty. And Patty is, you can Google her and see the work that she has done. Patty Webster, she's amazing, professionally a GOAT.
Yeah.
I mean, people still honor her work, but personally, just as much of a GOAT. And I came to know Patty and loved her and respected her and would sit at her feet and just listen to her on the phone with clients. Yeah. And then I would see her get off the phone and pray for clients. And I was like, wow, look at her be the person that she is, so authentically always showing up. And then I would hear her talk about her friends. And I could go down the list, but at the top of that list was her friend Sherry. Her friend Sherry Riley. Her friend Sherry, who she just loved and admired. And I'm like, who is this Sherry? One day I will meet this Sherry. And it wasn't that she never, it wasn't that she wasn't creating an opportunity. We just hadn't met yet.
Yeah.
We hadn't met, but I knew of you. I knew so much of you. And, seeing Patty do her work, seeing Patty pray, also seeing Patty go through, rounds and rounds of chemo and dealing with cancer, and seeing the way she continued to show up as the woman that she authentically was and is to my heart and your heart and all of the people that she impacted personally and professionally, reminds me of how important it is that we stay in the company of people who fuel us and serve us and people that we can treasure and allow us to be ourselves. When she exposed me to her sickness, I knew we had another level of friendship. Mm-hmm. At that point, I knew we were going into a different level. And when we had the opportunity to, spend last days and things like that, last hours, I then knew. And I think about what you said earlier about the types of friends you have and the trade that happens. And I always locate Patty there. We still hadn't met at that point.
Still hadn't met.
I still hadn't met. And at the homegoing, I saw you from afar, but we still hadn't met. And that was not the day.
Yeah.
Was it 2 years, 3 years later?
About 3.
Probably 3 years later that we're on a trip together.
Yeah. And still don't realize it.
And still
the first day, the second day.
Still didn't until that day did we realize, oh my God.
You're that Sybil. Oh my God, you're that Sybil.
I was like, what are the odds that we would end up in British Virgin Island on a trip with another great girlfriend of Patty's, who I met in the hospital room with Patty, having a moment. We shared a moment, and Patty said to us, y'all need to make sure y'all stay friends. We lost contact. We regained contact. We became close on this trip, and here is Sherry. And Sherry looked at me and said, You're that Sybil? I'm like, yes.
And literally in a conference setting with a bunch of other people.
With a whole bunch of other people.
At a seminar style setting. And I'm like, hold on, you're that Sybil.
Yes. And it was this exchange that happened. And great girlfriends, I'm sharing this story because these are the moments, like when you're busy being who you are, doing what you do, how you do it. I just feel like there's this integration of your worlds that happens, a convergence. And I feel like hearts and minds united. In those moments, you build experiences that you can never trade. And I was busy being that Sybil. She was busy being that Sherry. Patty was being that Patty. And through all of that interconnectedness,
let me add 2 more quick points to that. Now, in the midst of this, guys, in the midst of this journey, my husband had been trying to connect me to Sybil.
Yes!
He kept telling me about this Sybil and what she does in marketing. So my husband's telling me about a Sybil. Patty has a Sybil. And then a very close girlfriend of mine, Natalie, is like, oh my God, you need to meet Sybil. And literally it was like, oh, you're that Sybil. Oh my God, my husband's been saying, Natalie's been saying. It, like, to your point, it's just
crazy. Yes, we orbit.
Yeah.
You orbit. Yeah. And then there's this moment where they become one. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that you're there, Jerry.
My husband was like, finally.
It happened. And then when we found, we were all like, we did it. They're like, okay, about time. Like that should have been happening. But it was just, the time was the time.
Yeah.
And again, again, you being that Sherry is the reason why so many people's worlds are better. And I just, I can't tell you I love you enough. Like, I love you so much.
So mutual, because everything they all said was that and more.
Oh,
love you.
I love you. I
Yes.
know you're about to kill your next one.
Thank
as you do.
you.
Thank you for keeping us motivated.
I'm gonna go wipe the sweat off my brow.